And we are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome to our podcast from the gutter to growth. Y'all, I am so pumped today. It was a long day, but I have so much energy right now because I have three amazing young men with me on today. None other than the King boys themselves from top to bottom. Johnny, Rod, Gemini, what's going on, guys?
Hey, it's a family affair. It's a family
It's a
affair.
family affair.
Yep, gotta support
Like we can
family.
just sing. Look, y'all, it's gonna be popping tonight. Like we are gonna just be talking about some real gutter to growth stuff because the fellas that you see on this screen, they are all about growing, and we gonna talk about some stuff tonight. Y'all ready to talk?
Hey, well,
We are ready to
I'm gonna
talk.
slow you down on that young piece because this little gray hair say a little bit different.
Well, you in between, that young and that fox, the little gray fox dudes that be all gray that just be handsome like they done arrived, like you going into that era right there, that gray fox era. Yeah.
Bro, I'm trying to live biblical. Look, spied out the promised land at age 40, then went and conquered it at age 80. That's what I'm trying to do.
So you got that renewed energy going on, huh?
All the
Yes.
time.
Yeah. So what's up, Doc?
I'm in heaven right now. I'm in heaven right now. I'm trying to get it
Yes.
out here on Facebook so those can come on Facebook and share with us and everything. I'm excited. I got my big bro and my little bro here with my baby says you could what more can you ask for? What more can you
Nothing
ask for?
more. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like people ask, like, how did y'all start this podcast? And what me and Rod both can say is this is what we envisioned. Like when we sat that day and talked about a podcast, it was all about the four of us and how the four of us have come from our gutter moments to growth. And that day was just so beautiful. So to see it live in action tonight with the four of us just
It's
living life and just living it blessed no matter what we've overcome in the past. So we're going to dive in. If you have any questions, those of you who want to come in to the studio. You can come into the studio and drop questions. If you want to drop questions on YouTube, drop your questions, and we're going to try to navigate through both. But we just want to if we miss you, don't be upset with us. We just want to really take advantage of the moment. So
yes.
we are going to jump right in. You guys, are y'all ready?
Ready to
Let's do
swim.
this.
We are
Go.
ready. Look. We can talk about so much concerning our childhood. So much. One of the things before I start, talking about our childhood that I'm so blessed with is all of us can say that we had the best big brother.
Yes.
It's summertime, and I remember, I'll never forget how our brother, as poor as we were, our brother would make sure we had restaurant style
See
spaghetti.
people don't
He would set up that table like we were at a restaurant and serve us. Our parents did not have to worry about us being taken care of. And that's a lot because I think our brother was in fourth or fifth grade. That's a lot to place upon a child. But you know
yes.
what? He never missed a beat with taking care of us, and none of us ever showed up at the hospital or anywhere. So he did a good job taking care of us. So kudos to the older siblings out there who had to look after their younger siblings. So we just appreciate that. But let's dive in
Amen.
because the topic of this is breaking to breakthrough. There are so many moments where we just felt like we were at the breaking point. and so many situations where really we should have been at the breaking point. But let's just navigate through that, like growing up with the father that was an addict. You know, he was an addict, and because he was a victim of his addiction, what came with that is lack. What came with that was abuse, whether it was physical or verbal abuse. But let's talk about the different ways that that affected you guys. You know, when you have to navigate that, what's one gutter moment that stemmed from being within that type of environment? And let's start out with the oldest.
Bro,
Wow. Never knew that. Wow. Ah,
like yesterday. Yeah. So, and bro, I have a question too with that because I always, I know I think it was Jim and I one time said he would go with the mushy stuff, but I tell people all the time I had the best big brother in the world. We would talk trash to each other. We would go, but I tell people all the time I had the best big brother in the world because you always tried to shield us. You always tried to protect us, and that was the thing. But in seeing that moment, how do you feel that matured you? Did you feel like that set you back, or did that put you in a position where, okay, I got to make sure I protect my siblings. I got to make because you really try. I mean, that's my view of us growing up. I think that was a lot of times we would, as kids, we would get into it because you were trying to tell me something like you was my daddy, and we would end up getting into it. How do you think that is that a moment that made you feel like, okay, I got to really step up to the plate because I don't want my siblings seeing what I'm seeing?
yeah. Right. In the home.
Supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 So, Gemini, join in. Did you? And I know we're gonna learn different things because that's something when I wrote my book and I was talking to different people, I just realized that I have my story, but all of you have your story, and some of us don't even know pieces of each other's story of what we encountered. For those of you who are listening, if we may make a face or, be taken aback, this is
Wow.
really our first time like talking about this in like just being vulnerable with each other and our audience, because our whole goal is to help people heal. This is not for a show for people. This is to help people heal and show you that you can overcome, because clearly you're seeing four children that overcame everything that we've had to endure. So, Gemini, in that, like, what was your moment that you remember that was like that gutter moment?
Oh, my gutter moment was a different experience. Can't remember what year it was, the exact year. I just know I was in 6th grade,
Mm,
and that was the year Mama sat us all down and told us we wasn't gonna have Christmas because
wow.
Daddy hadn't paid the rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And from that point on, I have had a love-hate relationship
With
with holidays ever since.
wow.
Yeah. That's big.
That is huge. Wow. That's huge. I think
Yeah.
I remember that moment because the only presents we got was from the
From
church.
the
From the
church. The
church.
only present we got
The
was from the
And it
church.
church.
wasn't much. It was
Yeah.
Socks.
A Scully for us, a Scully
yeah.
and some black socks,
I
some
think I
black
got
church
like a
socks.
sweatsuit shirt, just the top. Just like, yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
But
makes
yeah,
sense. That's powerful, bro.
yeah,
That is powerful.
Because a lot of times, you don't, I tell people I'm at this point where I'm like not a big and I'm not knowing that could be a reason why I'm not so much of a big holiday person. I celebrate it because that's what, my wife, she wants to do something for different holidays and stuff. I'm like, your birthday and our anniversary is most important to me, but those different holidays wherein it's meaningful, where for so much of our life they weren't meaningful. But there
yeah.
were times when, mom would scrape up, but she would make something happen, even if it was something that we had to all share. I was just telling somebody about our Moon Patrol game. We got that little
Now
black
Atari
and white,
26, how you doing?
Yeah.
but it was those things, and you don't realize that some of those things could be a contributing factor to why you view certain things the way that you view them.
And it makes you understand, I never really brought into trauma, like, because I felt like people would use the word so loosely. And I just want to know from you, like, once I kind of wrote my book, it's crazy that it took me over 40 years to realize that I had gone through very traumatic experience. So like I have memory loss. So people will ask me, "Well, who were your teachers?" or just try to ask me questions, and I do not remember. And I know now that because of the traumatic experiences that I went through, that really affected the things that I remember growing up. It's like a blur. Do any of y'all have y'all noticed where y'all have experienced that?
Definitely noticed it.
Mhm.
I noticed it, all the time. I
Mhm.
notice, like, when we get together and sometimes y'all will be talking, I have no idea what y'all talking about.
Wow.
Like, some of the stuff that y'all talk about that we've talked about in the past, during, when we got together, whether it was, dads or granddads. And I remember moments where y'all are talking and everybody know exactly what's going on, and I have
Yeah.
no idea what y'all talking about.
Mm.
Yeah. 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 And
And
it's crazy because it took me forever to know that's really what it was.
and
Yeah.
I, like you, I just surmised over the past several years that it was just trauma. It was just
Mhm.
my brain had shut down or cut off
Mhm.
whatever portion. And because I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're supposed to know this. You're supposed to
Mhm.
remember this. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And with me, I remember the bad. So I'm like, why do I remember the bad, but it's tough to remember moments that should have been good. So Dr. King, I see you ready. I see
Yeah.
those hands.
Now I think about that because I'm a person. I'm always trying to surmise and analyze in
Mhm.
different things, different situations. So much stuff comes to my remembrance, and I know I was reminding you of certain things that happened, and this is why this happened, and this is why you did this, and this is why. And it was like, oh, I didn't know all because trauma triggers. And so it
Mm.
triggers a chain of events that start to take place. And what happens is it's like temporary type insanity. You lose yourself. You lose yourself in the moment. And because you've lost yourself in the moment, you don't even realize what actually took place in that moment. So that's that gap. That's that gap in time that actually takes place for all of us. Wherein for me, it was so much more. I was always trying to figure out, why, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did, and I tell anybody I got my answers. I end up getting my answers in the end. I understood why mom stayed so long. I understood why she fell in love and why she loved dad. I got my answers. I understood why. But for me, it was just so much of like those gaps in that trauma. For me, it was hard for me to forget because I was always in that moment of constantly wondering who knew. No
Wow.
matter what was
Yeah.
going on, I was like, who knew? Who knows what just happened last night? I was
Mhm.
sharing with somebody like we would come home sometimes and the lights may be out. And I can remember telling, a couple of friends at times, man, mom doing us a candlelight dinner. You know what I'm saying? Lying at an early age because oh man, y'all mom do y'all candlelight dinners. So if you listen and I remember you know what I'm saying? That's no, our lights were out. I remember having to go around the corner to take a bath to our grandparents and and different things. But I tell people, I say my sister and my younger, but they might not remember as much me and my older brother do. I don't even know if he remember, man. When we were first, second grade, we could come home before dad actually hit. We could come home. We have clothes spread everywhere. It was like but y'all were young. Y'all probably didn't remember that.
I don't remember the glory
Yeah,
days at
because
all.
by the time that stuff started happening, it was like, okay, he's going to y'all wait, because he's going to prison, and then he comes back home. It's good, it's horrible. Then he's gone again. So it's like those gaps are there. But for me, it was kind of like I was always wondering who knew, who was whispering, who had the listening ear but the running mouth. Like
Yeah.
who was the person who you may have been close to, who knew what was going on, but they was actually pointing the finger and laughing and picking. That stuff kind of just ran through my mind, and it was just like I was afraid of what was going on the inside. I was always afraid of it getting to the outside. I always, my mind was always 100 miles and running with these things because it was like, for me, it was that fear factor. My gutter
Yeah.
moments were constant because
Yeah.
I lived in constant fear.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I lived in constant fear. People might say, oh, Rod was the good athlete, but you don't know what I got to go home to.
Yeah.
I remember Snap coming home from a football game in freshman year, coming home to say, bro, I caught my first pass, but couldn't even get that out because mom and dad then got into it, and here come the police.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
couldn't even, I remember that moment. I don't know if you remember it, bro, but I remember that. Like it was all these traumatic moments, and it's just like it constantly plays in my head.
So with those moments, what comes is we all respond or react differently, and we all try to do things to maybe try to fill the void, whether it is with other people or other things. So let's talk about maybe some ways that we try to fill the void and what that may have looked like for us individually, and when you realize what I'm trying to use to fill the void is not working. So I'm gonna put you on the hot seat, Gemini. What was that like for you? What did that void feeling look like for you?
The void was just, I mean, we were kids. We watched a lot of TV. So you see families on TV doing things together. Mom teaching the daughter things that they felt the daughter was going to need when she grew up. Dad teaching the son things they felt he would need when he grew up. And just knowing that how you saw it on TV was nothing close to what we had. And so, if you remember, I never stayed home.
Yeah.
I was always somewhere looking for somebody to just say, "Hey, good job. You did
Yeah.
all right. Let me show you how to throw that baseball. Let me show you how to start that lawnmower." Just, I was always out, whether it was friends or just other family. I was always out because I know when I got in the army, people were like talking about their dads and stuff, and I'm like, my dad really didn't teach me anything. I
Right.
say most of the stuff I learned was from my granddaddy and my uncle. So whenever I was around granddaddy, he was
Oh
half the
wow.
time you ain't paid any attention because you thought he was drunk. But when you really thought about it, it made plenty of
It made
sense.
sense.
And then when I go hang out with Ebony, because she was
Y'all
my
don't be
age,
judging our people. Don't be judging our people.
Right that
when
same
I
way.
go hang out with my cousin Ebony, because she was our age, Uncle Gene, he was like, "You know how to wash a car? Nope. Come, let me show you.
Yeah.
You know how to work a lawnmower? Come on, let me show you.
G
You know how
said
to do
free
this? I
label.
mean, just whatever."
Yeah.
He was just always showing me stuff, and it was
Yeah.
just,
Love
you
that.
realize it's like you seek that from the outside, but like you say, after so long, you realize that what you get from the outside may be good, but it's never enough.
Yeah. I love
And it's
that.
never be
Yeah.
enough because it's not what you want. And kids want their parents.
Mm.
No matter how good they have it, they want their parents. And if their
That is
parents
so
aren't
true.
providing it, there's always going to be a void.
Thank you for that. That is like so true. Johnny King. Johnny King. What does that look like for you? Like what will you say was the moment where you tried to fill that void in different ways?
Yeah, I think just over time, life, there are different things that I used. I think early on, it was like somewhat Jim said, doing other things with other people, spending a lot of time with granddad. I think a lot of, spending time with our cousins and just that camaraderie that we had when we were all together, and doing all of those things. I think as I got older, some of which, you noted in your book, you know, especially towards high school, we really threw ourselves into if it was a sport, we was doing it. It's basketball, it's weightlifting, it's football, it's whatever it may be, we were doing it. Putting ourselves where, into school, into sports, to fill those voids, into, as young boys, girlfriends and all the things. So, other people, other times, other things, other parents, parents of, whether it be friends, girlfriends, what have you. We use them in some ways to fill some of those voids that were left. So, I think a lot of, a lot of things as I got older, I used different things, some of which I've had to manage. I
Right.
was no foe to, but only a friend to Mr. Cognac. So I went to school and I used alcohol to fill those voids a lot of times. And of course, that, isn't a good thing. And, thankfully, I was able to push a lot of that off. But, I just think over time, there were several things and during periods of time that I used to try to fill those voids.
Yeah.
But like Jim and I said, there's when there's a need for a mother or a father or whatever the thing may be, you need that. And that thing that you use to fill that void in most situations is only temporary.
Right.
It's a temporary fix. It's like, it's like patching a tire. It's only gonna last for so long. So those are some of the things that I, personally did, um, to fill some of those voids. And it's funny enough, when we were sitting here talking, and this might be kind of off subject. But I couldn't help but thinking, I'm like, when I'm dealing with my kids and my daughters, and my wife used to always say, "Oh, you don't, tell them, how much you love them, and you don't
It's
hug
off
on
topic. Yeah.
them, and you don't kiss on them." I used to be like, "Man, what you talking about? I told them I loved them 2 weeks ago," you know, and I literally had to sit down and just look myself in the mirror and be honest and think about, wow, why is it so hard for you to say
Mhm,
you love them?
mhm.
When you love them,
Right.
you would give them your world. I would give them,
Right.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
them till the end of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And so I had to make, like, literally make myself
You
start
have to
more
work
saying,
at it. Yeah.
I love you,
You're not alone.
Nope, you ain't because
kissing them,
it's
hugging
not
them,
something that flows off the lips at all.
and I had to, like, make an effort to start doing those things. Because those again come from voice from earlier, from not, receiving that treatment.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't taught, and, I think for as much as I know our mother and father loved us, like with dad, he was going through his things, but, I had to realize too, it took me some time to realize too, with mom, she wasn't this always this loving, blah, 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 because
No, because she didn't have it herself.
we didn't have
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
wasn't taught that. And if you think
Yeah.
about how she grew up and all the things, she was shifted around, and so
Yeah.
she wasn't shown that love to be
Right.
able to show,
Yeah.
so it wasn't until I got older, I was like, "Man," so yeah, there's a lot
And
to
I
overcome.
love that. You know what, bro? Thank you for opening up that piece of vulnerability because all of us can tell you, I'm 100% in agreement with you. As a woman, I didn't have that. I had to learn it and I had to work at it at an older age. So if you're listening, it's not too late to shift that because children want that. And what I've also learned, my mom wants that. Even though she didn't have it, when I give that to her, I can see that she wants that and she receives that from me, something that was never given to her. And it was foreign at first when I started giving it to her because I had learned how to do it in my own home because she didn't know how to quite receive it because heck, she's like almost 70 years old trying to learn something that's out of her norm. So if you're listening, even though you may say, I don't do that, everybody wants to hear, I love you. Everybody wants their loved one to hug them. Like, don't believe that hype of people saying, I don't want that, because really, you don't know what you need until you start receiving that. Dr. King, you want to chime in?
That's powerful because it's like I think I just ran a totally different direction. I think I got to a point to where I felt like I didn't need that type. I tried put it this way. I tried to make myself believe I didn't need that type of validation. And I think because it became a constant, it became a norm.
Hmm.
And because it came a constant, became a norm, it's like saying I love you is just like it is, and so and I for me it's like a heart. It's like like it's easy for me to say I love you with the love of Christ, like you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But to just I love you, it's like I love it was it's just and I think because for me it's one of those things that has become a stronghold that I know that I have to tear down.
Mhm.
I have to break that barrier. I have to tear that down. I think engulfed I engulfed myself in so much of what was going on as bro said, as both said has said, in family. I engulfed myself so much in friends. I engulfed myself in so much in sports. We stayed busy. We stayed gone. We always because it was kind of like you just didn't know. So I engulfed myself in that because it was just like that past or what we was dealing with. It was like I'm just trying to you were trying to either forget it or numb yourself to it, if that makes
Right.
sense. You're either trying to forget it or just numb yourself to it. So I got to a point to I realized, I think for me, I realized it wasn't working when I got to college.
Wow.
When I got to college, it was a point in time where it was like, yo, you're the life of the party, man. What's wrong with you? Well, this isn't fun anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't and it was to the point I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. But what I realized, the very things that I was doing was leading me down the same path.
Wow.
So I had to realize I had allowed my past pain to become to distract me from my future. And that's what was happening. You know what I'm saying? It was just like I didn't realize it. But when I look back at it now as an adult, it was so many things that took place that was actually distracting me from where I was trying to go. And it made it even more difficult for me to get there. So what I thought I was actually running from, I was actually running to.
Wow.
So it becomes a scary situation. So it's just like for me, it's difficult. And especially being, knowing the love of Christ, but because I practiced the thing for so long, it's like, man, and my wife would tell you, it's like, I love you, she'll, oh yeah, I love you too. Or, you might say, love you, bro, love you, but coming out my mouth,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's not, I don't even think, I don't.
Yeah.
Even though I know, and it's like, man, when you hear these conversations, it's like, bro, you gotta start thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to start thinking about that because
Yeah.
you got kids, you got older
Right.
kids, and they want to, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, that could be something. They want to
Yeah.
hear that, but it's just like,
Yeah.
so, and I can make the excuse and say I'm not equipped to give that, but that's where I have to grow. We should never
Yeah. I
stop
love
growing. So
that.
that's my
Right.
responsibility. I have to grow to say, you know what? Yeah, my kids are all grown, y'all adults, y'all make, oh, but no, I gotta equip myself. And then some of them might look at me like, ain't nobody think, but
Right.
I don't want to be a stumbling block.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be a stumbling block. I don't want to be a hindrance.
That. And that's going to lead us to the next question because, just thinking about you, our oldest brother, and you have you have grown kids, you still have your younger girls. Um, and we all have our moments of where we walk through unspoken grief, especially due to what we're talking about, not really having that present father. So Johnny, I would like to know, and I feel like we're being so raw and real with
Yeah.
y'all tonight till until those of you who are listening, I just really hope that your hearts can heal, because we're all still growing through our own journeys. But what is one thing, even as a 50-year-old man, that you wish you would have heard your father say or speak to you?
I don't even know if it's word,
Mhm.
but I think for me it would have been time.
Wow.
Mhm.
It would have been because honestly, a majority of when I sit here, if I'm honest with you, and I think about my childhood and the good times and the things that I did and the people or person that I did them with, I think about my granddaddy.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
about sitting on our front porch.
Yeah.
I think about fishing early in the morning and him buying us fruits and snacks. I'm thinking
At the
about
fruit market.
going to McDonald's on Fridays, piling up in that brown, whatever that was, or that truck that blue, he had painted it
Yeah.
blue.
A nice
Um,
spray paint.
yes, I think about when he used to barbecue. I think about crazy stuff like him taking we would. I think Roy, you probably went too, taking us with him to his friend's farm, and we got that hog, and
Man,
he
yeah.
slaughtered the hog in the backyard, and then he barbecued, and I think about the day. I don't know who was around. I remember that day he had that big was a sea turtle, that flat shell turtle in the back
Yeah,
of
they
his truck,
flipped them.
and he flipped 'em, you know. But he kept me with him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
Yes,
kept me
he
with him.
did. Even me as a girl.
Yeah.
on the back of that
No
truck,
matter where he went, I sit in the lap, let you drive. He got built like everybody. We get pulled over, everybody going to jail.
messing up porches. I
Yes.
remember.
So, you know, it would have been wonderful to hear you're my son and I love you and all these things, but I think the time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Anybody else want to piggyback on anything they wish they would have heard or experienced?
It's a tough. It's kind of for me because my situation was totally different. May have been different because I got a chance to get it. I didn't get it as a kid,
Right.
but I got a chance to get it as a later, as an adult, and it was different for me because I did get a chance to hear it said about all of us, you know, that how proud and did, because at that time it was a different person. It wasn't the same person who
Right.
we had grown up with. And it was just like, man, being able to ride, being able to go and get a burger or have lunch or, just laugh and talking and whatnot, it was just, yeah, you got it. So, but it may have been the same thing as bro. It may have been like you say, time. It was just, yeah, it may have been time, but I just thankful because I did get a chance, you know, because I'm not far as y'all, so it was easy for me to get on, and go
Yeah.
45 minutes and you know what I'm saying, and
Yeah.
be right there and get that time in
Yeah.
those last few years.
And I don't know if Johnny remembers. I'm trying to keep from calling him his nickname,
Yeah.
but I
So
don't know
so
don't know if he remembers. He was visiting him and his wife. We were visiting granddad's house, and dad was on the porch. And dad was like, "Oh my God, girl, you getting fat,"
you can be
So
negative.
he just always would be negative. And my sister in law took up for me and was like, "Well, what if she said this and that?" Like, because he would be negative. And that's one thing I wish as a girl that I would have had a father that would build me up. Every girl wants a father to let them know that they are the apple of their eye, that they're beautiful, that, no matter if the weight is fluctuating or whatever, but that they're beautiful. And like Rod said, at the ladder, after us having our little I was able to get that. Now my heart had to be worked on because,
I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
so many times, you have to sift through what the past was and what had the seed that had been already sown. So it just took a lot for me to receive it at first, but I just had to be willing to just say, Shika, just receive it. Just receive it. Just take it in, which was very difficult for me. So that's what I would say as a girl that my grief was just wishing I had a dad that would build up that little girl, that self esteem of a little girl. So, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I was just thinking, it was just like, oh, for me, it was worse because I always felt like I was told I was a smart kid. So I was pretty much expected to do the right thing, make the right decisions, make the best grades. You know, I felt like that was an expectation. But then if I did anything, it was just, you soft, you're a sissy, you ain't good enough. And it was just like, all I wanted to do was do something for him to say he was proud of me.
Right. Yeah.
But it was like, no matter what, couldn't get that out of him.
It ain't,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
And it's
know, and
crazy. Go ahead, sis.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was saying, and it's crazy because that's the craziness of talking to him and those conversations, knowing like those things that he said and those things like I never meant to because you got to know environment. That's why I say as we grow and you begin to learn, you learn environment. Sometimes we only do what we and when you're in a certain state, that state shifts you because you're playing. You got to protect yourself and make it seem like you all right and like you the strong man and like you doing the right thing. So you reflect that rage or that anger out on because hey, because we were complicit in so much stuff too. We engaged in that same type of talk and terminology because that's what we heard. But in essence, we were getting the same thing in a certain sense. And so we may have been saying things to you, but me and Snap, I tell people, me and my brother were trying to draw blood from each other. We fought like there was no tomorrow. I mean, I know y'all seen us. Yeah, we fought. We went
At
at
least
it.
you didn't get shot with a BB gun.
Oh God. Boy, listen, boy, oh man, bruh, that was crazy. you know, but it was just sitting here and it let me know that we weren't fighting because we couldn't stand each other. We didn't like each other because I knew he was the best big brother in the world. But as soon as we transitioned and we moved, we never fought again. Man had an argument or two, but never ever laid hands on each other again, unless it was a dap or
Yeah.
a hug. So it was you sit and you think about different things. It's like you're putting out your pain on somebody else because that's and you realize you in the same pain. Y'all in the same. Why kill somebody who drowning with you? Y'all all going down. You drowning them first isn't going to save your life. Y'all all going. But that's what it was. It was
That's
like
true.
that's what it was, survival. We kind of got to the point it was survival of the fittest until we actually I mean, I always say people tell me one of the best things that happened was us moving.
Yeah.
It brought peace. It was like so for me, it was like where it was like that missing that I was happy. I had to console my brother. So but I was happy. I wanted to tap dance because it brought peace.
That you did.
So let's talk about this. We all have our shared journey, but let's talk about what we've learned with that. What has this journey taught you about grace, forgiveness, resilience, overcoming? Let's talk about, even though we grew up in those gutter moments, what has that taught us now? Johnny, take it away.
So I think it has taught me to appreciate, regardless of what it may be. I think I just have an appreciation for small things. I think it has taught me what I do and don't like as it relates to parenting. I think those moments have shown me, I think those moments, as I back up, have made me who I am. And I tell people that all the time. And again, this may be a little outside of what you're asking, but I would not change anything about anything that I went.
Bam.
And I say that because I tell people all the time, it's made me who I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
For real.
When you get me, you get all of me. But what I take from that is I feel like all of these things have made me a good person.
Love that.
I feel like all of that good, all of that bad, and I took from it what I felt like I needed and what I felt like was best for me.
Put the fish spit out the
And I think with all of us, all of those shared and unshared experiences have inevitably led us to now.
Yeah.
It has been the map that has directed you. It has told you to go right when you wanted to go left with
You just
work, with family, with spouses, with children. It all goes back to Kyle, Edna, Pam,
Yeah.
Kay, Bert. It goes back to all of those people and all of those situations and all of those things that we've been through. It has pushed us to the point that we are now. So I tell people all the time, I wouldn't tell I can sit here and woo 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 and tell you all the stories, but I would not give back not one moment.
Wow. Chime in, Gemini.
I agree, big brother. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. I used to think, you know what? The only thing I would have changed was me making smarter financial decisions as I got older. But I mean,
We
that's
didn't
a part
know.
of life.
You should have
And it was
followed
just
you and
like,
went into my military. What you talking about?
it's like some of the early decisions I made were a product of upbringing and, being in a
Yeah,
house to where
that's true.
finances were only talked about when the lights went out or the rent wasn't paid. It was never really talked about on a open, broad spectrum. But I mean, it's life lessons. I mean, you take a lot of life lessons, and I think the biggest one I've learned is gotta find an outlet for your feelings, a productive outlet. And for me, that just became watching TV again, seeing people talking about retirement and investing, and I'm just like, "Huh, I wanna do that when I get old." And, you started thinking about what does it take? You know, education, job, managing finances, but I mean, the thing that really stood out was it's a long-term process. Starting in high school, people got to know me, I was like, "I'm a long-term investment." Might not have a whole lot now, but in the end,
Come on, bro.
pretty sure Imma have everything I want.
Amen.
So that's it. You gotta work hard. Remember, it's a long-term investment. Can't try and get it fast.
Because you'll lose it fast.
You'll lose it
Yes, you
fast.
will.
You'll lose it fast. Oh,
I mean, what I would say, what I've learned is about forgiveness, it's about me and me choosing to forgive no matter if the other person, is still doing what they're doing or if I feel like they're not deserving of it. It doesn't matter about the other person. It's all about me freeing myself from what happened, and just being willing to forgive so that I can grow and so that I can heal. And in that, it has brought about that resilience of being able to grow and be strong and overcome, be the wife I need to be the mom I need to be, being the woman of God I need to be because I chose to walk in that true forgiveness. So that's what I've learned through all of this. Y'all are right. It's You wouldn't want to change the story because it is why we are who we are today.
I agree. I wanted to be free.
Mm.
I didn't know how to be free. I didn't know how to get free. I just wanted to be free. And I wanted to be able to practice what I preach. I was a pastor, and as a pastor, I was bound for years because I was operating in unforgiveness. And, it's different because again, we were closer, there was times, you know, y'all know it when y'all came, y'all got a chance to see it. But for me and sister was a little more constant. You made it, you went. And I'll tell anybody, sometimes people were like, sister, no, you still go. We still went and stopped by to see dad. We still and I believe sometimes he probably don't even remember we opening that door and seeing him right out of his mind and it's just like, okay, I'll be back. I got the kid, you got the kids or whatever the situation was. Because he probably don't even know as many times we actually probably came by to see him. So it was kind of like, hey, I'm just doing my part. I'm doing what I should do, not knowing what I was doing was the right. You are making the effort because a lot of times, I have a responsibility too to make an effort, but I tell other people too because since I became an adult, I got a choice now, and it's my responsibility to also make an effort. And so I can remember God constantly dealing with me about apologizing to my father, asking for his forgiveness. That made absolutely no sense to me. Why would I ask somebody to forgive me when I didn't do anything to them? They did it to me. What did I didn't do anything. I'm good. That my mind, that's what I'm good. And I mean, his voice got louder and louder as it pertains. I'm pastoring as it pertains to me. So I wanted, to forgive. And I rolled the palaka and not knowing what to expect, not knowing how it was gonna go because sis even knows even for a minute she was kind of the one who got me to going back because I guess I got her to going back because after her and dad had the situation with her brother saying the same thing he would say to you, sissy, a punk, all this stuff. I'm probably not. So I don't know if I'm supposed to say that over, but those words. That's what we grew up calling. And when she heard that, it triggered something in her, and she snapped. So it was a while, and I'm trying to. Well, that's still our father. You and Palaka go by and see him, but then I started fading, and she starts going. So it's like, okay, I gotta go. But to make a long story short, I go. One of the longest rides I've ever taken. I felt like I may have been going to visit y'all in Tallahassee. One of the longest rides I've ever taken, just going driving 45 minutes the way I drive. And when I got there, it was as if he was waiting on me. I expected him to be high. I expected all these other people to be there. Y'all know how it is. It was my expectation. I get there, house clean, he cooking. And from what we can remember, dude can cook. When he cook now, we know he can't cook. So he's cooking, and this atmosphere is set, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I can hear God like saying, "Say it," and I'm just sitting there, and He's trying to talk to me, and I'm just sitting there. He's trying to make small talk. I'm so glad you came to see me. And, this just having small talk. And I always tell people that I've only seen my dad cry once. And that was when my sister said what she said to him. That's the only time I've ever seen my dad cry. But when I said, Dad, I got something to tell you, he said, what's going on? What you got to? I'm sorry. My dad didn't say. All he did was say, I'm sorry, son. That man hugged, sorry. And from then on, it was just like, I knew I was no longer ashamed of the fact that I looked just like him.
Just like them.
I used to hate that. Auntie W used to make me so mad. You look just like your daddy. I never told her that, but it did. But now I love it. I love it when she said I look like him. Because I understand, man, where I get my personality from, my good looks, my charm. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here with this man
Our
going back and
smile.
forth,
We get our
got my smile, all this stuff, and I'm like, man, you cool. What? I always been, not no negative. I'm talking about. I got a chance to like realize, like, man, y'all, we had an awesome father. He just got caught up. We had an awesome father. So I say to anybody, a lot of times, we wait, but we don't know the weight that people carry. We wait, but we don't know why they're the way that they are. So you may be trying to get something from a person that you can never get from them.
they don't have
And it's hard. You're trying to get a gallon out of somebody who can only, you're trying to get a gallon out of somebody who can only give you a pint. I had to take what he was willing to, once I was willing to do, I made that first, the rest is history. The rest is history. So I say, that forgiveness is big. That freed me because I didn't realize I was bound. I didn't realize I was good. But it was just, man, for me, I think it was you need to know you need to know who your father is. It wasn't about him not being present. And this to me, it wasn't about him not telling me that I didn't do a good job because, like you say, we had granddaddy, we had uncles, we had Jimmy. If you listen to this, boy, you should have been in jail putting us in them garbage and putting the lid on it. I mean, just the torture, just the torture that these jokers put us through.
And
We kept going back for more. But they gave us the attention, the love, everything. Would let us follow them everywhere, give us little jobs, and pay us pennies. And we thought we were balling.
pennies. Like, let's
We thought we were balling. It was all we had. So getting to high school coaching, tell people, Coach McCool, the different coaches, Coach Mitchell, just all these different people, the coaches. It was just the teachers.
and
It
we'll
was
be
just,
remiss if we didn't, talk about our stepfather who stepped
oh man,
in.
thank you, sis. D, listen, man. D,
Yeah.
but D, the conversations that we had, I told you, did that tell you? Yeah, you told me. Just like, man, I'm so glad you said it because I owe him a lot. He put up with, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he was a father. He tried, and I appreciate the fact that he never tried to keep us away. I mean, go and see your dad. We came home. You went to saw your father? You went to say something to your dad? Take your dad something to eat. Do this for your dad. Do this, man. I can't even give him 100,
Yep.
1,000.
always.
We always called him Deke, so it's never been no disrespect. But that's our stepdad, our dad, our father, whatever. That he was but it was just like it was so many people who came and filled that gap. It was just like for me, it was never about that presence. It was about forgiveness. That one little thing had me in a prison, and I didn't even realize it because I didn't know who I was. So I think for me, it was just, man, I finally found out who I was and why I looked so good and why
Look, we have dropped so many nuggets. And before we wrap it up, I just want everybody to just leave a nugget for those people who are listening, who are saying, man, I may be on the end of where your father is. I have my family who, I've wronged, so I'm not worthy of forgiveness. Like I've done too much. It's just gone too long. Or it may be somebody listening just that says, somebody has done too much to me, and I don't have it in me to, walk in forgiveness or overcome, you know, just things that have wronged me in the past. What is one nugget you would leave with anybody? You can speak to anybody you want about what you've navigated through.
I guess I will start, and something that I always say, and I'm sure it's probably just so cliche. And I tell people this all the time, for people who don't know, I work in a hospital settings. A lot of times I see people like probably, I don't want to say at their worst, but not at the very least, not their best. And, when I'm dealing with those people, I keep that ahead of mind. And so I always say, I treat people how I would want to be treated.
Yes.
And so even in the midst of you working through and around forgiveness, I think if you treat a person or that person how you would want to be treated, then that will help you navigate that process. I know a lot of times it's hard, it's difficult. And in our situation, one of the things that helped me with, going back to our father, and one of the things that helped me forgive him was I realized he was sick. And a lot of people don't think of or see addiction as sickness, but it is.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, who am I to go on in the way in the manner that I am, feeling the way I feel about somebody who is sick, And not to say that that's the situation for
Yeah.
everybody in any situation that they may be in, but, like you have all said to some degree, holding on to that is more of a noose around your neck in most cases than it is for the other person. And so, if not only for you and not only for your peace of mind, even if you forgive and forget, as they say, forgive and let go, but that takes that weight and that pressure off you. And at the very
Amen.
least, I think that's something that, everybody, like Rod says, and like you said, I think that's it's something that everybody owes themselves.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Love that. Who else want to chime in? Want to leave something for the people?
I mean, it's really piggybacking, but I look back and I will carry a burden with me for the rest of my life because y'all know me and daddy didn't get along.
Hmm.
And I never truly forgave him for my childhood and a lot of the stuff that happened. And he died 6 years ago. I never get that opportunity. So that's my lesson. That's a burden you don't want to carry. If you have the opportunity to do something, do it. Don't wait. Just do it. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it.
And I'll share something with you. A 70-year-old man at my church, when I gave my testimony, he said the same thing to me because I was just saying how I was able to, just ask my dad for forgiveness and just free myself. And he felt the same way. He just felt like he didn't have that opportunity because his father had passed. And, just it was divine by the Lord. The Lord just wanted me to share with him that forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you freeing yourself of how you were wrong and being willing to just renew your own mind by it so you can be free. Because if it had something to do with another person, even if they were alive, we still wouldn't be able to walk in complete forgiveness. Because if it had to do with dad, it wouldn't happen. Because when I asked him for forgiveness, he still wasn't doing things right. So it had nothing to do with him in a sense. It had everything to do with me freeing myself because I chose to no longer be bound
Yep.
by what somebody else chose to do in the past and in the present realizing that now I'm in control of my own emotions, my own thought processes, because it's more than just a heart forgiveness, it's like a mind renewal. So I had to renew my mind to how I him in certain situations. So I would just challenge you, like I challenged that 70-year-old man, to understand that it's not about the person, it's about you. And I think that'll help you walk through your own forgiveness process. That he doesn't have to be here physically for you to say, you know what? I am who God has called me to be. I am this person and that person. You know, like you, when you know who you are in Christ, is nothing that our dad could have said to us in the past that can change who Christ has called you to be and who he said that you are. And for those who are watching, our Father God supersedes our earthly father any day. So, regardless of if you have a father that you think is great, none is greater than our heavenly father. So, I'm going to believe who and what he says about me any day, period. And I challenge you, bro, to do that. And I'm telling you, it's just going to help you free yourself and walk in true forgiveness, because it's not about the other person. It's not about them. Rod King, Dr. King.
Mine is simple. I think I would say make the first move. Make the first move. Don't wait. Just make the first move. You got it. I mean, be willing to, and just be willing to fight through it all just to make that first move. And that's really the only lesson that I can leave, because that's what it was for me. He gave me every opportunity. We had Simo, y'all know Simo here last week, and we were having a conversation about how God even used him to try and move me into that place of asking for forgiveness. I rejected it then. There's so many different people he's tried to use to move, and I just rejected it. And it's like now I got this platform and I'm preaching to people and I'm telling them, you gotta forgive and forgiveness. And the Bible says, I'm doing, all it is, but here it is. Okay, you living this unforgiving life. And so it's like, okay, make that move. And like sis said, no things weren't perfect, but it was like I got a chance to start seeing and things got so much better. It got to the point he's expecting. Now, hold on. Now you expecting? You have been, because you expected me to come. You expect, it's just it got to that point. It got to that point. He became expectant. And and I could tell you, and I know sis can't live, man. That man, I got tired of hearing it's like stuff that we didn't know. He knew. It was just kind of like, I think for him, that for them that presence is shame. They'll act like it's a form of strength, but it's shame because I know I'm not there. So, we talked about times, people will talk about, no, we actually went without. We didn't have, there was no graduation. Like people say, no, there was no graduation. There was no showing up for a birthday, participating, or somebody to be able to give you something when you was in need. Right? People that like, I mean, it's certain you got they may not be there in one way, but they could be there in another, we had none of it. But I mean, he wasn't proud of any of it. If I can, once he began to realize, what he missed out on. He was proud of each and every one. I can tell you them, y'all, man, you go to them old dusty trophies and them old prom. I mean,
Pictures.
yeah, oh my God. Y'all know y'all seen that stuff. He kept it, anything he could get his hands on that had something to do with us, he kept it. You just didn't know how to articulate it. And so for us, we see where our struggle come from. It's not so much, he just didn't know how to articulate it. And I'm not to give a pass because I'm still struggling with it at times, not knowing how to articulate it, So it's, but I say make that move. Make that first in any situation, make that first move.
And, we're all doing it, even now. Like, even you, Jim, now you might not have your own personal children, but you are a father figure to
Oh
my
my God.
children.
I
So,
got a child.
But don't put no
father,
All
dogs
the
up
money
there.
I'm spending for medical school.
yeah. So,
Oh, you said
yeah. So I've had children for my brother and sister in law. So
well,
That joker
yeah.
swear he our child.
yeah. So and that's where that openness and freedom comes, knowing that you have the opportunity to give freely to
freely.
others what maybe wasn't given to you, but being able to just that's what makes forgiveness even easier because it's like in spite of how we grew up, where we've come from, the opportunities that we have now that we can give back to our loved ones and those around us. It just makes me look at things that happened to me in the past and be like, how can I live in the moment? I just have to free myself because God has just been so good
And good
to
to us.
us in spite
Boy,
of,
he
you
has
know.
been good to us. I'm quick to
Yeah.
tell people, like our situation, you got these degrees up here. You got who would have thought? Who would have thought that we would be excelling at the rate and doing the things that we're doing, thinking that our mom, that's not what say, talking so much to God that he ain't got time to talk to nobody. But look at the result of her talking to God. But you know what I'm saying? We the testimony of what it is, you know what I'm saying, to God. I mean, and bruh, listen, my brother Gemini and Elder, oh my God. I felt like for the longest, snap, I mean, Johnny, I felt like I was a horrible parent. When we send our kids and them jokers come back potty trained, they come back. Them jokers, they going to sleep at 7 and waking up at 9 or 10. But they was staying in the they had them on a regimen, boy. Like they had them going through basic. But I loved it, boy. I
Yeah,
was, if you were like, I'm gonna send you back to your auntie and uncle, okay.
I know.
I can tell Jim and I say, nah, they getting too older now. Y'all come and get y'all kids.
Yeah.
Y'all come and
No,
get
it's old enough for me to punch him in the throat for real now.
All right. Well,
I love
look,
this.
y'all, we gonna shut this down for the people. This has been such a great night. Look, there's never enough healing you can get. I have walked away tonight feeling even more healing,
Yes.
even more growth, that has taken place because it's always room for growth. It's always room for healing. Like, it's just always room for forgiveness because that's just what type of God we serve. Like, He gives us the ability to mature more areas. So on tonight, bros, I just appreciate y'all because it has blessed me dearly. It has, shifted me even more, given me even more growth and just resilience to just keep moving forward. So I just appreciate y'all. I appreciate, my older bro for allowing me to even be here at age 45 because he saved my life two
He
times.
did. Yes, he did.
So I'm just full of thankfulness. If I had a word to say, that I'm just so thankful that we are the children that God said they can make it. This group of four, they can make it. They can get through what the enemy tried to mean for evil.
Evil.
God is like, nope, nope. They have what it takes. They have what it takes. And I'm just thankful that, that God has just taken us from the gutter and we are living in growth and
We living in the growth.
continuous growth. Yes. So thank you all for joining from the gutter to growth. I hope you enjoyed this podcast with our special, special guest.
Make sure y'all
Until next
subscribe. Make sure you
time,
subscribe.
until
Man,
next time, we'll see you
subscribe,
next
subscribe.
Tuesday. Yes, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please go over to our YouTube channel and